What you see is what you get.
Yeah.
So were you kind of always like that?
Yeah, well, I think when I started to get older, I became more molded into like me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being in high school and the weirdest thing, it was the in thing was to be hateful just for the sake of being hateful. And it was like you said that I'm so good like with my likes and I wear it proudly and I always have. But like I remember, you know, people finding out my favorite color. Not a lot of it always actually shocks me when they find out my favorite color is pink. Always love pink. There's never been a time in my life where I didn't love pink. And one of the in things to hate was the color pink. And I don't know if you saw the post that I made about it, but like it was cool to be aggressive about the hatred that you had for the, like, I kid you not, people were aggressive about it. Oh my God, it's so ugly. I hate it. I wouldn't, it makes me puke. And I just look at you like, what the hell is wrong with you? That literally aggressive about it. Aggressive about it. It was okay to hate everything and love everything that was dark and about death. And I'm like, what the hell even is that? What's shut up, my my roommate. I guess he was that punk in high school. But it was stuff like that, or like the girls, I hate dresses. Okay, or like me, I've always loved pop music when I'm a child. I loved it. And that era of like boy bands and stuff, that died out. And how old was I? Maybe 18, 19 when One Direction came out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God, I loved it. Just because like it made me feel like that 6-year-old who loved NSYNC and the Backstreet Boys. It's like it's a boy band. I freaking loved them.
Yeah.
Anyone and I would tell everyone. And I remember recently, this is maybe it was like last year, one of my friends said to me, they don't even make bad music. I was like, they don't. She was like, but I was too afraid in high school to admit that I liked their music. I'm like, because it was cool to be hateful. That's why you didn't want to be outed as someone who could just enjoy things. Like,
yeah,
enjoy the color pink if you enjoy the color pink. Like, wear those dresses. Who the hell cares what they say? But I mean,
exactly. And honestly, I remember when you walked into the classroom, I think we both had Wallace. And I remember you walked into the classroom with your bag and your books, and it clearly looked like you came from somewhere, and you were just like, okay, I'm just glad that I made it. I made it through the door. And it's a look that I was very familiar with, because I'm sure it's a look that I have, that many students have when they're just getting in, getting settled, and ready for the next hour. I remember looking at you and just being like, I don't know who this woman is, but I feel like I want to have a conversation with her. It was just, I know it's just like weird, because it's like, okay, that's weird. You don't even know me. Like, I could be like, but it was something about you that was just different. And I like different people, because like I said, I just feel like there's too many people trying to be the same.
yeah.
And like, even the way that you express yourself, because I too was, I mean, and still am, but I remember like when I was younger and being made to feel like, okay, like, why do you have so many opinions? And why does every opinion have to, like, why does everything have to be so particular about everything? Like, why can't you just like, why, like, and why do you always sound so like I don't know, maybe I don't know what the psychosis is. And I don't know if it's because people don't like when, if I don't know if it's a woman thing. I don't know if it's a Black woman thing. I don't know what it is in particular. But I always felt like when I had the nerve to express any type of opinion, no matter how small or, groundbreaking it was just almost like it was like a little resentment. Like, Why do you have to be so loud about how you feel all the time?
Black women, we always get like the worst of that.
Yeah. And I'm just like, why can't we feel the way that we like, how come I can't have an opinion about something? Like, how come, why am I not allowed to not like this? I don't like this. It's annoying. And if I want to express that it's annoying, then damn it, it's annoying.
Exactly.
You know, like that stuff never bothered me. When people, like the only time like it might make me raise my eyebrow is if it's like rooted in something like ridiculous, like homophobia or fat phobia. Like otherwise, I'm like, okay, if you think that eating sardines for breakfast is like, okay, well, amen, girl, walking your truth, walking your truth.
Yeah.
But you'd be surprised how people just like some people are just triggered at the fact that you're even like, it might not even really bother them, but it's the fact that you're like even saying anything at all. Like you're giving them some type of bait to comment on your commentary. And Lord knows I have been guilty of it as well. But then I had to like bring myself back and be like, okay, what is it going on inside here that I feel like I have to be so triggered by somebody just literally just speaking.
Yeah.
That's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
And with social media, I just feel like it's giving people so much balls to just like be so strong and wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like it's so weird. It's like you said, like so strong and wrong. And like when they're wrong and you tell them that they're wrong, because it'll be something like factual. It's like you're actually spreading false information. This is factually incorrect. And they'll just be upset with you. And I'm like, well, I mean, hey, if you're choosing to be stupid, then I mean that's fine by me. What can I do? What can I do?
And that is what I think is so cool about you, because I feel like even though I know that you have a sense of humor, I love that. Like I said, you are particular, and I love particular people. You don't like things that you know are wrong. Like if it's wrong, like if it's not factual, and you know it's not factual. Like I'm not gonna just I'm not just gonna let you just be out here.
It's like, listen, I'm trying to help you, all right? But I think that because it's me, because you know how like my personality is. I think that people don't like they're wrong by me.
Right. Like right. And sometimes it's not even like what you're saying, it's the fact that it's you saying it.
It's me.
Like why does Amber have like, it's not even what I'm saying. It's not disrespectful. It's not rude. It's not condescending. It's just the fact that I'm saying it that is like making you feel some type of way. I definitely agree. It's like that. And it is funny. It's funny because you're like, okay, I know where this is coming from, because had it came from this person, it would have had you probably would have just been like, oh dang, for real. But because it's like I'm picking on you because it's coming from me. You're being picked on.
Yeah, it's just been this way. Like even in high school, like I might have said something. Okay, you think you're smarter than us? And it's like, well, I didn't say that, but if that's how you feel, I'm like,
And that's a personal problem.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know how to help you.
That's a personal problem, because if someone came up to me and was like, it's just that my couple way that she was, no. I'm not for tone policing. I don't feel like everything has to be said with sugar and ice and first of all, I think part of that is also anti-Blackness.
Well, you want to know what the funny thing about that is? Thinking, tis not to say that it's not anti-Black, because it is a lot of times. But you want to know what I found out, learning, because with learning different languages, it just comes with the culture. That being sweet and sugarcoating, that's like an American practice. Like you realize, like when you like talk to like people from like other places, you realize that like a lot of people, they're just, Americans would say like blunt, which I guess it is blunt, but the thing is they just don't see the reason for all these extra words when they could just get the point out. And I don't know if you've ever been to Europe, but the small talk thing is not a common practice over there. Like I remember, shopping and saying to the cashier, like, Guten Tag, wie gehen Sie? And she said, Gut. And I was like, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I did that to like a different cashier another day. I said, Guten Tag, wie gehen Sie? And she said, oh, sehr gut. And she was so happy that I like asked her how she was doing. I'm like, I care how you're doing. I hope they're treating you nicely over here. Like, that's just not something that they do. That's kind of like an us thing that we have to sugarcoat, that we use all these words to like, we beat around the bush instead of just like getting right to it.
Yeah. And that we take it and not sugarcoat a bit, like, and we put the word manners over it. Like we say, oh, it's just good manners to say this, and that. And I'm like, everyone has their own ways of etiquette, and
that is very, very true. Very, very true.
Like etiquette, I totally understand what you're saying. Etiquette, excuse me, in the United States is not the same as etiquette somewhere else. I actually interviewed an aunt of mine who was born in Congo, spent most of her life in boarding school in Belgium.
Wow.
And yeah, spent her formative years in boarding school from the time I think she was like 5 until young adulthood, then until she moved to the States. And she was saying customer service. She's like, I've always loved working in customer service because like that's not really a thing in Europe, but it's a huge thing in America. Like, asking people how they're doing and engaging with people, engaging with the customer, and like, developing a relationship with a customer and making them feel like home. Like, she's like, that was a huge concept in America that I was not used to in Belgium, versus like, what do you want? Like how you, like, it's just to the point.
It's like, get the line moved. Yeah, it was really crazy, like seeing the differences. And like, one of my best friends, her husband's Romanian, and a lot of her friends didn't like him because they thought he was mean or something. And I didn't know, but my boyfriend's best friend met him, and I found out that he also didn't like him. And I'm like, I mean, because he is the opposite of what they believe should be right, they reject him. But I'm just like, he was not raised here. You can't expect him to just be the way that you are because you're used to this, because you haven't. And I understand that, like, if you don't have the means to expand your horizons and see what's out there, like, that's fine. But also don't reject it, like, if you're faced with it. You know?
I totally 100% agree. And so I want to dive into, and as you can see, I'm asking you all the questions that I've always wanted to ask you. I guess I feel like I get to pick your brain for free here, which is an honor. Undergraduate life. First of all, how did you like Eastern? Like, did you like being a student there? Because I feel like I have never really asked anybody that.
I did, and I remember just rejecting it. Like, I didn't want to go. And the thing is, I mean, is it the best university? But like, I loved it because of what I did there. I thought that the theater program, and I don't know if you feel this way, but I thought the theater program was great. Like, I wasn't like you. I didn't get to be Miss New York for a while. So maybe you're used to more fancy things. I don't know. I love, because I wanted to go to U of M because of their language program. What I didn't want to deal with was their competitive theater program, because it's like, if you're not in the program, it's almost like you can't even breathe their air. And I liked that Eastern said, like, I mean, you don't have to be in theater to volunteer. Like, if this is what you want to do, if you love doing this, then like, I liked that, the welcoming kind of come as you are
Yeah.
kind of thing, you know. I really enjoyed that. And like all of our professors, you know, and I don't, if I remember correctly, Terry was your advisor at first, right? Yeah.
No, so actually Dr. Lee was.
Oh, I
And
thought
then
Terry was until,
no.
they had that.
So first it was Dr. Lee for like 2 seconds, and then Terry was. So for the majority of my time there, it was Terry until, of course, yes, she passed.
Yeah. Yeah, Lee was my advisor, and God, I remember the first time I met him and I walked into his office and saw Shakespeare all around. I said, I love him already. And like it was I appreciate him a lot more. I think I told him, and I remember I walked into his office like a little before. I was like, Lee, I was gonna wait till like my last day to give you a spiel, but I'm gonna give you a spiel right here, right now. And I don't really think that I like spieled enough to him. Like, and it wasn't just Lee, it was like all our other professors, but I remember specifically Lee because he's probably the hardest out of all of them.
Right.
And I remember so many times I just begged him to fail me, or so many times I just out loud and proud in front of the whole class told him that I wasn't even going to do an assignment because I didn't think that I could. Like I remember when we had to, and for dramaturgy, we had to write our concepts for Macbeth, and I said, "Oh, this is not our group thing." He said, "No, this would be your own individual," and I was like, "Oh, I can't do that." Like that was my way of telling him I want to do it, not that I can't do it. I will not do it. That was my way of telling him that. And I said it out in front of the class. I'm like, you know how I would say like my little one-liners and there'd just be that silence of the class, like, did that really just happen? That's how that moment was magnified by like 10. I was like, yep, no, have a nice day. Lee, this is not happening. And I remember like when class was over, I happened to like walk past Lee, or maybe I walked past him an hour later or something. And he said to me, like, how are you? I was like, I'm fine, I guess. And he was like, you can do this. And I was like, no, I literally cannot. I'm like, what does he want from me? But then like, he kind of like calmly talked to me, like, what is Macbeth about? And I was like, a man hungry for power. And he's like, what does power look like? What does hunger look like? And I went home and I had to say so myself, what a damn good concept. But it was because he saw lots of things in me that I did not see in my, like, I thought he was insane. I remember when I was doing one of the directing classes I did, I saw, he's like, how are you? I was like, directing's surprisingly going really well. He said to me, that doesn't surprise me one bit. I think you'd be a great director. And I was like, excuse me?
Oh, 100%. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm very, very thankful. And I'm very, very thankful for Jeremy for being my mentor. Like, even though I was in theater arts, which is the acting portion of it, both Jeremy and John were very supportive of me delving into sound and learning how to do it. And I because for our final, for 467, theater arts majors typically don't do like the EDT stuff. And I remember asking Jeremy if I could design for my final one. And he said, I mean, there's nothing in the rules that says that you can't. And both of them backed me up and allowed me, and they really helped me, when it came down for me to learning how to design and all that. So did I like Eastern? Yeah, I did. Like, I loved it.
Of course, I tell people all the time, if I could go back and see, you mentioned my previous education in New York. So the backstory with that is that I got accepted to the American Academy of the Dramatic Arts my first year of college. Went there at 18 years old. Went straight to New York. Yes, I was in the heart of New York City. I was sharing classrooms with people who are like our age, like 18, in classes with 24-year-olds. At the time, I was not a good student. I'll just say that. I didn't know how to be a student for that type of program.
Yeah.
I did not know what discipline was.
Yeah.
I was coming from Walled Lake Western. I was coming from high school. Like, sometimes it blows my mind that I got accepted to that type of school, because I wasn't like a Rachel Berry, where like, even outside of the theater program at my high school, I was also doing dance competitions and like, I lived and breathed training. That was not me. So I was used to just getting by with raw talent and, cramming assignments in at the last minute. I had no concept of what discipline was. So flunked out of my first year, because you have to be invited to do the second year at that program at New York. Basically failed out of that. I was not invited back. Came home. I would say came home in disgrace, but that's what it felt at the time. But I was just so hard on myself. Came home. And the thing is, I didn't really think about going back to school. Like, I always thought that I would go there, get an associate's, and become a star. Become a star. Like, I would just go to the school, graduate from the school, and then, like, I don't know, just be on Broadway. Like, that's just how it was formulated in my 18-year-old head.
I think I also had that, and I don't know about you, but I think it's so insane. I also thought that. I was like, you know what? I don't even need to go to school for acting. I'm good at it. I can just, but the thing is, without the money or the means, it's like, you kind of have to go to school, do something to get your foot in the doors. You have to do something, right? You can't just sit around and, like, think about this. And I don't know if you are, probably not. They're Canadian. One of my favorite troops, the Kids in the Hall. And I remember, like, learning about what they did, and they all moved to California. That's what everyone does. And they are all sharing this apartment, and they're sleeping on the floor. And I remember thinking, wow, I can't wait to go to California and be a starving artist and just, like, sleep on a floor. And then it wasn't until maybe 2 years before I graduated that I realized, you are a starving artist. Are you kidding me? And I remember when John was laughing, and John Seibert, and he was saying, I remember Terry and I being happy because we could finally, we got, like, food stamps because we could finally, afford a jar of mayonnaise. It was something like that he said. And I remember just, like, laughing, not at him, but at the fact that I was so dumb that, did you have that, just glorified that starving artist life? And I'm like, you know what? They weren't happy living that way. They had to do what they had to do. Think about it. Are you happy right now? No, you're not. You're not happy that you had to, like, give up food to avoid college debt. Like, you're starving, honey. It's happening right here, right now. You don't need to go to another state to do what you're doing right now.
And so coming to Eastern, and that's why I probably always looked like I had a chip on my shoulder, was because I was like, yeah, you come from New York, and then you're at Eastern Michigan, and that's not to crap on Eastern Michigan, but, like, two different worlds. Exactly. And that was an adjustment for me. And it wasn't even I took my anger out on Eastern, but I knew that the problem was me. I had to learn how to become a student. Yeah. Like, Peru's, I remember being in Peru's class and just crying. Like, I literally just crying. Like, Tyler was just saying, she was just like, are you okay? I was just crying. I was in tears because I was like, I know I bombed this exam. Like, there's no question about it. And I was just like, but what made me sad was that I was like, here's this man who loves theater. No. Who breeds it. Like, when Peruse talks about theater history, I mean, he's taught it for how long? But every time he teaches it, it's with so much passion and understanding. And he knows theater history. He loves New York. He loves everything theater. Like, this is no money. this is what I do. I like, it made me think like, no. I thought I loved theater.
Yeah.
I thought I really was about this life. I was like, and I'm not. And that shook me to my core. Because don't get me wrong, I love theater, but I had to learn what it really meant to be a student of theater.
Yeah.
To not like, I was just like I was just literally on the surface. And looking back, my 18-year-old self had no business sharing classrooms with people who were 24, 25, who already had their undergraduate, who were going there for extra training. Like that level of maturity, I just didn't have. So it was such a revelation. It was such a revelation being at Eastern. And you're right, there was a sense of family. There was a sense of like, I loved how John Charles was just so like so invested in making sure everyone had their hours, and how flexible he was. And I remember coming to him and being like, okay, according to my schedule, John, it's looking it's looking a little. He was like, no problem, like come here, do this, shake and bake a little bit, and I got you. And I just was like that type of love and that type of like understanding, like I feel like Eastern was the place where it kind of met you where you were at.
Yeah.
Which I appreciated. And like you said, that come as you are type of environment, it's encouraging.
Yeah.
And so I want to get into more about you, and I promise we'll come to a close, because I'm sorry, I can have you literally talking for 4 hours, and I don't want to do that. So question, what are like your favorite hobbies?
Well, I kind of laughed when I read that question, because
Why?
I'm like, if it's a hobby, it's your favorite, right? and it wasn't like criticizing you for asking the question. It was just that I have a lot of hobbies. That was more why I left.
You know what? Now that you say that, it does make sense. Like, okay, favorite hobbies. I mean, like, okay, right? Because out of all the hobbies that you have, which ones are your favorite?
Yeah, because it's like it's like hobbies are the things that you do a lot because you love more than anything else. like school isn't a hobby; it's just something that you do. Work is just something that you do, right? That's not one of your favorite things to do. That's why it's a hobby.
Everybody.
But
this
again,
is why we love her.
Again, it wasn't at you for answering the question. I have lots of things that I love doing. Yeah. People know that I've studied so many languages, and I said so many during this interview, but I never actually disclosed how many of those languages I studied. And it was 8, but the thing is, people thought that like, oh, you're doing this for school. It's like, well, that's also a hobby though. The thing is, I only told you that I have a degree in French and German. No one forced me to teach myself Swedish. No one forced me into a Russian class. It's just something I like doing. And then like my hobbies, like they range. And then, you've seen my art, my yarn projects. I love knitting and crocheting. I have 5 instruments. So it's like, what is my favorite hobby? I will tell you my hobbies. But the one out of all, the one that I love doing the most, like
I love that. But it's like, that's why I love you, because it's the Mikails that have that type of line of thinking. And who knows, you could be a genius. That's probably what it is. To look at a question and be like, wait a second, but if it slightly doesn't make sense, and you're right. It doesn't. So you kind of have that Regina George effect on me. And here's why. Because you know that the part in the movie, I don't know if you, I probably shouldn't have just assumed that you've seen Mean Girls, but if you have,
that I've seen Mean Girls. What the hell?
And so the part where she's like, she wears, flip flops and cargo pants. So I also wear lots of cargo pants. Like you are like a Regina George to me. Like Mikail loves tea and she loves yarn projects. So I too. and your projects. Like, that's why, and also because, like I said, because you're so different, and I love that about you. Like, you're a perfect example of, like, Black is not a monolith. We don't all have to like listening to Chief Keef, and we don't all have to, like, I don't know, like, what's a stereotypical Black thing that, like, we're expected to like.
Yeah, and it was,
like,
it was
you know what I'm
really
saying?
hard. It was hard growing up because, you know, unfortunately, Black people have this mindset, and it's very sad because, like, I'm too light for them to think that I am like them. Like, I cannot tell, like, someone literally said to me, "Hey, white girl," and I'm just like,
whoa.
Yeah, he literally said that to me. But then it was just like, you know, upon finding out that I don't know that many rappers. Like, I didn't listen to that much, right? I'm like, I'm not into it. I'm, you know, I like pop music, you know.
Same.
I loved when I was a child. I loved, because I started choir at 6. I freaking loved classical music. That's what my teacher played. I loved classical music, you know.
And I think that's super cool. I went to school with a girl named Eastern. I went to school. Well, yes, we went to school with her because she both came from the same school. But either way, I'm saying she was also a student from Eastern, and she was in the band, and she was also like a stripper. Like, she was like a stripper, loved her job,
Wow.
like loved her job, was doing the thing, but she was also a part of the school band, and she was like also very sporty. And I remember like messaging her, and I was just like, I just want to say that I think you are so cool. And like, I love the fact that you are just you, and you stand in all the things that you love to do. Like, yes, I'm a Black woman, and I am a stripper, and I'm also a band. I'm also in the band, and I also like to play soccer, or I like to and I maybe shouldn't say stripper. I don't think she was a stripper. She worked at the club. She was like a bottle girl. So I hope no one knows who I'm talking about and be like, girl, they said you stripped. No, that's not what I'm saying. She worked at the club. And it's also like you saw one picture of her and you thought that this is what she is, but then you see her at the club like popping bottles, like, hey, I'm like, okay. We love a multifaceted queen. We love, but it's possible. It's possible. You can be literally whatever you want to be.
Exactly.
Yes, y'all.
And I reject that, like, I have to fit this kind of mold. I know we're Black, so we have to be doing this. And it's like, no, I can do whatever the hell I want to do, and you're just gonna have to be okay with it, because that's just what's gonna happen. Me doing whatever I want.
That's the beauty of being grown. That's the beauty of being grown, because really, like, how are you an adult telling me, an adult, that like me liking what I like is just like an issue to me? First of all, am I paying your bills? Like
Exactly.
I'm trying to figure out, like, I'm not paying your bills, you're not paying my bills, so why can't we just
right? Exactly.
But like in high school, when we had nothing else to do, like in high school, like sometimes I wonder, were people mean because they were mean, or were they just bored? Like, or was it both? I feel like
as I grew up, I realized that it was definitely that, you know, people were bored. Like, I remember like the things I would get teased about in elementary school. People honestly didn't notice when I got older. I'm like, that just goes to show that people just look for, and it you know what, it was just like things all throughout, like before getting to college. Just not to say that you don't have these issues in college too, but like they will just look for things to pick apart about you, because it's like this something that, you know, has always been apparent. I'm so like, oh well, I guess I've never noticed. But it's like, so then you think about, okay, now they're just people in high school or in elementary school were just looking for reasons to like pick on you and make you feel horrible for, you know, whatever reason.
Yeah, like my favorite was, you know that song? I mean, I'm blacker than you. First of all, if you said that to me now, like, we can meet outside. First of all, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, stuff that like is so crazy. Like, as an adult, you would never in your right mind look at me in my face and say something like that. That's like, hey, like, out of this world crazy. But these were things that like your peers at one point said to your face and was like with conviction.
Yeah.
with conviction. So I just couldn't imagine like now just having to deal with the stuff that we did and just like how strong we were for dealing with what we did. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in to this first episode. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with the Mikail. It was such an honor to talk to her. Please make sure that you comment below and let us know how you felt about this. And stay tuned for the next episode. With that said, bye.
Bye. Thanks, Amber. It was really fun.